the things that are listed as overt acts in furtherance of a conspiracy, and in some instances a crime themselves, are, other than acts of speech, assembly, and petitioning, or variations of it, include tweets, include text, include phone calls, include writing letters to politicians, include lobbying members of government in a public manner. It includes telling people to watch a news show. Apparently, that by itself is now an affirmative act in furtherance of a criminal racketeering conspiracy. That is how insane the cases are. They have taken the core constitutional rights and remedies and made it a crime to assert them. But it's not all. Not only now is a text a crime, a tweet a crime, a phone call a crime, a public letter a crime. Being a lawyer, giving advice to your client is now a crime. Asking for that advice is now a crime. I mean, Meadows is charged with a crime for being the chief of staff, asking someone in the White House to write him a legal memo on what remedies are available. That was listed as an actual crime. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Eastman, who's indicted as part of this, is indicted for giving advice about the Constitution of the United States. The Rudy Giuliani is indicted for giving advice about election reform. Jenna Ellis, who doesn't even like Trump, is indicted for simply saying that the election could be contested or challenged. So it is the most insane indictment I've ever brought in the history of America. There's just no other way to put it. Instead, in fact, what's clear in the D.C. case is the prosecutors saying that basically the only thing you're allowed to do to contest an election is to go to the court system, to the judicial branch. You're not allowed to go to Congress now. That's a crime. You're not allowed to go to the American people. That's now a crime. You're not allowed to go to governors or state legislators or secretaries of state or vice presidents. That's all a crime. That's how utterly insane this is. What it proves to most Trump supporters, beyond any shadow of doubt, is that they know the 2020 election was stolen, was not a constitutionally conforming election, that an honest election would have produced President Trump. Otherwise, they wouldn't go to these great lengths to pretend something else happened in 2020. Because, as you note, nobody before who's contested an election has ever been indicted.
Hey, everybody. Adam and Patty from Rescue Michigan here. And I'd actually cut that clip down quite a bit because, I mean, it just goes on about how insane this all is. But I think the bigger point here is why Robert Barnes is like one of the only people saying these things. Where's all of Trump's affiliates or, Trump surrogates and Trump himself saying these same things? But I don't know. Trump did an interview while we were watching the debate last Wednesday. Yeah. Well, it was pre-taped, but it aired right when the debate started. And I haven't seen it yet myself. So we might watch it live on air.
Twice.
Oh, you've seen it twice? Okay. Well, don't spoil it for me. But,
I won't. It was good.
Am I wrong though? Did Trump say anything along those lines in the entire interview with Tucker?
He talked about, well, he just said, whatever, as usual, it's bullshit, which we all know it is. And
but that's such a difference.
He did bring up how they changed, they said Mike Pence, the vice president did not have the authority to send the things back to the state legislatures, but yet then why did they change the law so that the vice president couldn't send stuff back to the state legislature?
There's that little matter of public record, which the Democrats are completely shameless about. It's like,
it's
what's
silly.
her face? State Representative Kerry Reingans, who participates in an illegal strike at the University of Michigan earlier this year, and then a few weeks later puts in a bill to make them not illegal anymore.
Yeah.
They're just shameless. But anyway, how's everybody doing? Welcome everyone in the chat. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and even the service formerly known as Twitter. So welcome everybody.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that name change.
Not at all. No, me neither.
Why? It's silly.
I find it weird how people just go along with it too. Like with the rebranding, like they have an obligation to. Now everyone's saying, and so said on X, formerly Twitter, and it's not even just like news articles. It's just like people themselves talking. It's like,
it's
whatever. I'm not going to stop calling it Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not going to stop calling it Twitter.
Why did Dunkin' Donuts change their name too?
Oh yeah, it's not donuts anymore. It's just Dunkin'.
Oh, Dunkin'.
Stupid.
Well, it's faster.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Anyway, how's everyone doing? We are watching the chat. Dennis Marburger on Rumble. We see you there, buddy.
Yeah, don't forget Rumble.
Yeah. Whenever you see me looking up at the up and away like that, that means I'm checking the Rumble chats too.
Pine Knob. That's right, Dan. It's it'll always be DTE to me.
I thought it was the other way around. Didn't it used to be Pine Knob and now it's DTE?
It's a joke.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha. I'm not good at picking up on those things.
I know.
Anyway, how's everyone doing? Hope you guys had a busy weekend. I know I did. We were out at the Chelsea parade today where we had our biggest float yet. I got to show you guys this picture because when we started with our Washington GOP, they had not even done parades in like years, and we've done, I don't know, this is our 4th or 5th this summer, and this was the first one where we got a float in the parade, not just people walking out handing out lit and throwing candy and stuff. We got our own float, and it was impressive. And you can't, and it was loud too. That was the other thing, is we have our PA system on there, so we were blasting Lee Greenwood, Proud to Be an American, and what was the other one we were playing? Sammy Hagar, Remember the Heroes. So going back to the 80s rock and roll, which some people suggested. I had on my phone, stuff like Battle Hymn of the Republic and Stars and Stripes Forever, but I mean, it's patriotic, but it's not cool. You gotta go with rock and roll.
Yeah, so, that's true.
Yeah. But,
wait, was this one? Chelsea, you said? No.
Huh?
This was Chelsea?
It was in Chelsea, yeah.
Chelsea, and then this weekend is Celine.
The Celine Fair is like all week. We're doing it's like Wednesday through Sunday. But we found out the balloons were a huge hit. We got some balloons and a balloon inflating machine, and when we ran out of candy, we started handing out the balloons. We literally were cutting them off the float, and by the time the parade was over, our float was out of balloons. But yeah, the kids loved it, so we're gonna definitely have balloons and stuff for the upcoming fairs. We got to get balloons with our GOP branding on it and stuff like that. But yeah, we had a great team here. I'll pull up the picture of the whole team. Here we go. Yeah, this wasn't even all of us. There was like 2 or 3 more that just weren't around when we took the photo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much better when it's like this, when you have the music and everything blasting and people are doing things, and the enthusiasm from the audience was so much better than it was at the other ones. People were cheering for us, and when Lee Greenwood says "stand up," everyone, like, people were standing up. It was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for conservatives, especially in liberal places like Chelsea, which sadly has become liberal, you got to be there to encourage people, But one of the people in that photo was a first-time volunteer. She came out for the first time, and this is the ongoing process, and everyone is looking for some kind of easy way to get a huge list of people, and it's just like,
it's not.
You gotta slowly build it up, but over time, more people come. There was another one who was in the photo there who knocked on doors for the first time a few months ago, and she was really good at it, and now she's knocked on doors over and over and over again, and she's becoming a precinct leader, and that is hard to do. Mark says, to my knowledge, I'm the only local office holder of Highland Park who is a Trump supporter. Well, good for you, man, but maybe one day there'll be 2. Everything we got to be doing in this movement is, growing exponentially. And we were talking about, well, I guess one of the things I want to talk about on this show is what people can do. And the number one thing is just methodically getting out there and covering some territory geographically, starting with your own precinct, because you're not the only Trump supporter in your precinct, Mark, and it's just a matter of finding them, which is why we actually have these voter files we can get you. But hey, before we go to that, we got another guest to bring on tonight. Welcome, friend of the show, Daniel Lawless. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. How we doing, Adam and Patty?
Hey.
Good. Keeping up the fight. Looking forward to being finished with the parade and fair season. But then
you've been busy.
Precinct canvassing season again, huh?
You've been busy. That's awesome. Like, I didn't, at a lot of these parades, they're like, no, we don't do politics, or we don't, I don't know.
Yeah, I had a story from the fair, actually. I won't give anyone's name out or anything, but she this person ran into someone else at the parade who knew her and was a Trump supporter. Was like, what are we going to do to get Trump elected? And she was like, I couldn't say this out loud, but in my mind I was saying to him, well, you're not going to do anything, are you? Because there's so many people like this. And it really is horrible that there's people out there who say they care about the future of this country, say they want to support Trump, and do they do anything? Do they donate? Do they knock on doors? I mean, when the rubber meets the road is at the polls on election day, and suddenly a whole pile of strangers come out, and you realize you don't know any of them, and they don't know what's going on at all, and it's too late. It's too late by then. So, Mark Ashley Price says precinct delegates are awesome. Well, some of them are. Some of them don't do anything more than anybody else, and that's an important distinction too. By the way, you don't need to be a precinct delegate to go out and knock on doors or talk to people or build an organization or volunteer at the polls on election day or work at the polls. You don't need to win a little local precinct election to do any of that stuff. Only thing being a precinct delegate means is you get to vote at your county convention, which is, that can be somewhat important. It decides who's in charge of the Republican Party.
That's how it's written on the ballot too, right?
Yeah. Delegates to county convention.
It's how it is actually written on the ballot.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And that's why I always, whenever I do like a precinct leadership training, we never call them precinct delegate trainings. I don't want people to think of them that way, because precinct delegates are actually seldom precinct leaders, to tell you the truth. And they don't have to be. They're something completely different. But
yeah, there's a lot of people I haven't seen in 6 months.
Yeah. And honestly, the precinct delegates have no job to do anymore. There's no more conventions until the next round of precinct delegates are going to be elected. Wait, that's not true, because there's that special one for the presidential.
Yeah. We're going to have one in January, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. There is that one. Okay, so there's that big one. But that one's probably a foregone conclusion. I don't know. Now, I said in my email blast today, Trump is not only the front runner, he's the presumptive nominee. And maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I don't think so. Do you? What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, has anyone ever had this much of a lead?
I can't think of ever seeing anything like this, not in recent memory.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's so many unknowns. I mean, when was the last time we had an incumbent or a former president who's not the incumbent running in the primary?
1888.
And then, Trump is in itself such a unique figure. So, I mean, there's no way to know. But if you were going to bet, I think you'd pretty much bet on him at this point for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So is there any update on that? Is it still like the split thing that state committee voted on? Is that still what's going on?
For the Michigan primary? Yeah, there's still the primary on the late February and then the early March district caucus.
Okay.
But don't they need to have that plan finalized? Is that getting done? Because they're going to run out of time pretty soon, aren't they?
The final deadline's October 1st. More details have been working through the policy committee. So, exactly, some refinements have been coming through. So we're going to have a meeting to talk about that sometime in September.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they get it done. Yeah, here we go. The next county convention is February 26th. Thank you, Paula.
You haven't seen Paula in a while online.
The district conventions are March 2nd.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So then the Democrats must be planning on ending the session early then, because everything that I've heard them say is that officially February is the primary. So they're going with that earlier date. But the only way for that to happen is to end the session early, right?
Yeah, but that can be, I think, the end of November. And Christmas, December is usually a pretty light month in Lansing anyway, because it's like, it's that taint between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they don't usually do very much then anyway.
Nice word choice, I think.
Well, anyway.
They already gave away all their Christmas gifts with the budget. So that was last month.
Yeah, those are the biggest things. Anyway, we have in Washington County, there's a little hidden link here on our website for the precinct leadership portal. And it's essentially the same thing that rescuemichigan.com has, where you can sign up, you can get your voter file, you can partition, and it's a little bit different because we've got some additional like Washington special things we've got, like we computed all the local election results and give that to precinct leaders. But you can see everywhere, we avoid calling them precinct delegates. It's precinct leaders. And you can be a precinct leader whether or not you are a precinct delegate. And if you don't want another term of Joe Biden, folks, you got to become a precinct leader.
Yeah.
And
so do you have, is it like the rescue site where you can only see one precinct at a time, or can you get a larger view?
Yeah, you basically just have to change from one precinct to another if you want to pull another file. There may be some other way to do that. I mean, worst comes to worst, you can always just, and this is for people that have access to multiple precincts, but we do have those. We've got some folks at Rescue Michigan who have bought their entire county precinct file or their entire county voter file. And what you could do is just download all the individual precincts complete tables and then just combine them, copy and paste them. And I could help you too. I mean, what I often do when people buy like whole batches of precincts is I'll put them on the website, but I'll also just send them the original one huge file, which has everything in it.
Yeah, but then you can't use the tools.
Yeah, right. Not the same way. Although, I mean, if you know someone that knows how to use a spreadsheet, like for example, for that list of Republican primary voters, there's actually a column that just says, well, actually, no, come to think of it. No, it is in our file, GOP primary likely. You can just filter on that. Or, for example, you could just say, sort by November 2022, November 2020, and then delete anyone who's in no on both of those. You could do like that or something. So there's still ways to manipulate the data, but the website gives you some ability to make it easier for people that don't know how to do that kind of stuff. But there's still ways out there. Jay answered his own question, right? He had asked earlier, we have an August 2024 convention. We do, but then that's when, as he says, the next round of precinct delegates will be elected. So
yeah, well, it depends if we have another endorsing convention.
Oh yeah, there could be something like that again.
Right. That was April.
Yeah, the other thing I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but there may have been a certain financial incentive for them to do this presidential process where there's not actually a state convention. There's just these district caucuses.
Well, it's a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper for the state party. That's right. Not so cheap
free
for the county parties. I don't have one. So we shall see.
Free. Zero is very cheap.
Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, there's going to have to be for the university board candidates, for the state board of education. Maybe
we'll just do them all in March.
Oh, they may do that. Yeah. But
that might be early.
Yeah. It probably won't be an endorsing convention. It'll probably just be the nominating convention. Because what happened 2 years ago was they had an endorsing convention early, and then they had a nominating convention.
Yeah.
Which is a whole separate thing.
Right.
But yeah. So who knows? But I really think all of this state party leadership stuff is totally secondary to everything else. The thing that's going to change this state is organizing and mobilizing voters, and
at the precinct level. That's it.
Yep, at the precinct level. I mean, and therefore broadly that percolates up to the county and state results. Right. But it doesn't matter where you live, folks. I mean, I live in the most liberal county in the state. There's still Republicans here, and
you got to find them.
Yeah, you can get a voter file. You can just look up the ones that have really, really high GOP scores and just flyer their houses and say, hey, we're going to get together in a few weeks at such and such place and come join us. And you'll get people to come out. So, but those are the big things. I mean, everything like, and I go back to that clip we played in the cold open. Robert Barnes just laid out in 3 minutes. Boom, 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 boom. Here's why this entire indictment is insane. And you can't just do what Trump says and just say, oh, that's all bullshit. That's not gonna. Yeah, people are gonna get it.
Trump doesn't do the explanation.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it plays into the enemy's messaging. Like, oh, look, he has nothing to say, which is another reason Trump should have been at that debate. But never mind that.
I agree.
Yeah,
should have been there. I don't care how much he's leading by.
So I also authoritatively stated in my email today that Vivek won that. By the way, am I pronouncing it wrong? Is it Vivek? I've heard people say that. It's actually Vivek.
Heard it both. I don't know.
I think I'm just going to stick with Vivek. It's easier.
Vivek? I don't know.
Let me Google it. Go ahead. How to pronounce?
How to pronounce Vivek or Vivek or whatever. Anyway, what do you guys think? Daniel, was I off base saying he definitely won? Because apparently the spin room is all, people are saying different things. I saw one.
Oh, there's a whole video about it.
I mean, if you're watching that debate and then saying someone other than Vivek won, like you're like a master at spin. I mean, anyone who watched that knows that he was the breakout of that debate.
DeSantis
definitely was kind of flat, but he's still leading in the polls, so he he got hurt, but he didn't really
Did
get.
Vivek get a bump yet? Have they done the polling yet, or not yet for the post debate bump or whatever?
I don't know. I tried to find one.
Yeah,
but all I found was like the instantaneous post debate polls, which are BS because people just vote for their guy in those, no matter who it is. Yeah.
I mean, the question is whether it's going to be like a lasting bump or is it going to be just a couple weeks until the next
Usually they say it lasts about 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, there's another debate in like 3 more weeks, I think, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere at the Reagan Library, right?
Right. So, I mean, I'll be interested to see if DeSantis comes out more like Vivek in the next debate. I mean, he's got to, throw some more punches if he's going to.
Yeah. What people were saying about him is like, he just needs to be himself.
Yeah. He was way overcoached.
Yeah. Just.
Yeah. I think the problem they have is there's like 3 kinds of Republicans. There's Trump supporters. There's people who like Trumpism, but not necessarily Trump. And those are where DeSantis and Vivek are competing for. And then there's the neocons, and they're, the tiny little bit that are deciding between Nikki Haley and Mike Pence or whatever. But DeSantis can't, he wants both of them. He wants the neocon money, but he wants the disaffected Trump supporters too. And he's going to end up getting neither.
Right.
Well, I don't think there's enough disaffected Trump people. Do you? I mean,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's enough, but I mean, if you're DeSantis, your only bet is that you'll be both the never Trump candidate and something happens that Trump's support softens and that you can pick up hit. That's your only shot.
Yeah. Get that together. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm surprised. The one line, if I was DeSantis, I would have been practicing for day and night was looking for the opportunity to say, I actually follow through on my campaign promises, something Trump didn't do, but I actually do the things that Trump supporters say they want me to do. He never said anything like that. I mean, that was a smart play to make.
Yeah, I wonder if he was like not going after Trump because Trump wasn't there, and like you kind of hope that maybe something changes and Trump shows up, you can go after him face to face. I mean, if you go after him when he's not there, you're just letting him, respond on Twitter or Truth or whatever. Like
or Truth.
You're showing all your cards.
He tweeted his mugshot.
Yeah,
good for him. Yeah,
he did put it on.
That was I have to say I like that mugshot. I think it was well done.
Yeah.
Which I imagine that they didn't exactly give him a lot of photography coaching. He just had to show up and do it right on the spot. And I think it was a good look. It was defiant and it was serious.
You don't think there was a conversation beforehand on how we're going to do this mugshot?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Yeah.
I think if I'm going in for a mugshot and I know it, I'm going to.
Do you guys believe he's 215 pounds?
Trump?
Yeah.
215?
That's what he said. 6'3".
I doubt it. He looks bigger than me. He looks bigger than me, and I'd be.
I don't think they weighed him. I think he just said his own weight. I mean, he's lost weight, but 215. Yeah. I don't know. I sent you the link, Adam, about how to pronounce Vivek. I don't know if you want to play it.
How long is this video?
59 seconds.
Okay, that's not too bad. All right, let me copy it.
Hold on. Private chat,
Okay, yeah, I see it here. Although before we go to that, I also want to show off this. I saw this news story came in on I just stumbled upon it randomly today, but this was hilarious. This guy's really trying to earn my vote. I'll give him that. Rama Swami doubles down on calling Presley part of modern KKK.
You know what else they're calling him now? A 9/11 truther.
Oh, yeah?
That's the latest. And I think all he said was like, I wouldn't put it past the government to do something, I think he said, and now they're calling. So because he said that, they're calling.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you put it past the government? They just murdered 500,000 some people in Ukraine. Of course they don't care about human life.
Right.
But never mind that. Anyway, I just thought this was a funny thing. The fact that Rama Swami did not back down. He doubled down on that. I mean, that's what we need is Republicans that actually, do that, which DeSantis has not been doing. Anyway, all right, let's see this. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I think I need to change the configuration of my.
But that's what made DeSantis popular in the first place is he would double down.
Yes, that's why he's not being himself.
Yeah, he's just way overcoached on this. Some consultants in his ear.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's see if this works.
I haven't watched it, so I don't know how good it is.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide.
Okay.
Name, pronunciation, entrepreneur, former pharmaceutical
This is not good.
executive, candidate in the 2024 Republican Party presidential primaries in the U.S. Vivek.
Vivek.
Okay, got it. Vivek like cake. I got it.
Vivek like cake. Yeah,
Did you see the pop up on the side? How to pronounce Fatty Willis?
No, who's that? I don't know.
It didn't actually say Fatty Willis. It said Fanny Willis.
Oh, okay.
I pronounced it Fanny.
The Georgia.
The prosecutor. Yeah. Anyway, shall we check out the Trump Tucker interview?
Sure.
All right,
I haven't seen it.
All right, let me just pull it up here. I am walking into this cold, folks. As with the debate, we're going to have to talk over it. Probably this one we can at least pause because we can't just, it's Tucker Carlson's copyright. I don't want to not be transformative. All right, here we go. Should we do it this way or this way? It's going to be full screen.
I think we should be on the left. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
It's debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
Trump. He's so funny.
Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Why aren't you at the Fox News debate tonight in Milwaukee?
Well, a lot of people have been asking me that, and many people said you shouldn't do them, but you see the polls have come out, and I'm leading by 50 and 60 points.
He does look thinner.
Some of them are at 1 and 0.
Yeah,
and
actually he
2.
does.
And I'm saying, do I sit there for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and get harassed by people that shouldn't even be running for president? Should I be doing that? And a network that isn't particularly friendly to me, frankly. They were backing Ron DeSanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean, it's a lost cause. It reminded me very much of 2016. In 2016, I went through the same stuff and had to fight them all the way. And then they became very friendly after I won, or just about when I was winning. But I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate. I don't think it's right to do it. If you're leading by 50, 60, I have one poll, I'm leading by 70 points. And I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate. I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me.
That's part of it.
Well, for one thing, though, because when you answer the attacks on the air, you show your supporters how to answer the attacks when they hear them. I mean, that's kind of an important thing, because when you're getting softballs from Tucker, you're not going to get, how do you deal with the Chris Christie people? And that's an important thing that people need to be able to see. Because
what poll has him up 70 points?
I don't know.
All of which I love answering, I love doing, but it doesn't make sense to do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably noticed.
Well, I did. I'm grateful that you did. It's interesting, though, because you spent a lot of your career in television.
Yeah.
You had a top show in television on NBC. But you don't feel the need now running for president to do television, obviously. Do you think television is declining?
Well, according to a poll that I guess we just saw, it just came out where it's down like 30, 35%. But I think they were referring to cable. I think cable's down because it's lost credibility. MSNBC, or as they say, MSDNC, is so bad. It's so wrong what they write and what they do and what they say. It's it's fake news, as I said. I think I came up with that term. I hope I did, because it's a good one.
No, Rush Limbaugh came up with that, actually. But go ahead, take credit for Rush Limbaugh. Trump.
Well, now he's going to call it corrupt news.
Yeah. Oh no, MSDNC. I thought he was referring to. That was definitely Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, I don't know, fake news, but he just says you'll see.
Yeah, he came up with the fake news. Oh well, I mean, technically Norm Macdonald came up with the fake news, but I think Trump maybe popularized it a little bit. Give it the comeback. All right. Anyway, let's
tough enough anymore. It's corrupt news. Really, what you do is call it corrupt news, but somehow that doesn't play as nicely. But it is corrupt news. So you have MSNBC and you have CNN, who's absolutely doing no ratings at all. I mean, they're dead, but they're doing none because they don't have credibility. They really don't have credibility. Fox is way down, as you know, and the good old days are long ago. I will say this: it could come back, but they just don't have a lot of credibility. Tucker, you know that perhaps better than anybody. I think it was a terrible move getting rid of you. You were number one on television, and all of a sudden we're doing this interview, but we'll get bigger ratings using this crazy forum that you're using than probably the debate.
Yeah, we can fact check that right now. 261.2 million. Yeah, I think those are probably better ratings.
Well,
Although
those are not accurate numbers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
The numbers that you see on any online videos can be highly manipulated. So who knows about that? I've been missing some chats on Rumble where Hans, who has to correct me one of these days on the pronunciation of his username, says Vivek, thank you, did well. Only the super PAC neocon said he did not. Correct. DeSantis has too many consultants. Yep, as Dan said. Never. Trump has no excitement. They only will vote Biden. You will not capture them.
Well, the thing
Also-
with Vivek too. Yeah, I mean, he was clearly the target. I mean, if you look at who everyone was going after that night, it wasn't DeSantis. It's like DeSantis wasn't even there.
Yeah. How do you
They
think
were-
that happened? Because Vivek obviously is claiming this was all part of the plan because they know I'm the real threat. And that's just, I mean, it's obviously spin, but it seemed to me like he came out harder at the beginning. And I think it was it Chris Christie was the first to pounce at him? I think it was. I don't know if that was planned or not.
Him and Mike Pence.
All of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. I mean, if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
DeSantis, I'm going into the debate not trying to stir feathers. I'm figuring I'm going to take the shot, so I'm not going to go attack other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Vivek just went in there and stirred everything up, and he handled it really well too. Like he was ready
Yeah.
for everybody. So,
Well, he's more seasoned too because he'll go on like any channel. I mean, he goes on MSNBC, he goes on CNN, he goes on all types of media. So he's used to debating his points too. So it probably, I mean, that's given him practice. Whereas
Yeah.
DeSantis has really only gone on safe things. Like he finally went on Megyn Kelly, but I mean, he wasn't really going on anything. Another, who knows if that's what his consultants are telling him or what, but it's not
That's
helping him.
almost
It's not
certainly
helping
what's
him.
happening.
Yeah.
He's
it's
trying to
not
play it
helping him.
safe, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Jamie Green says Chris Christie had to be a plant. It was clearly orchestrated that he was focused on attacking Donald Trump. Yeah, I would
that's
say
his
that.
sole
I mean, his whole
purpose,
candidacy is. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get back to the interview.
Competition.
When you say there are people on stage who shouldn't be running for president, who do you mean?
Well, I don't want to really use names,
I don't
but
wanna
it wouldn't
really
matter
use
too
names,
much. A
but
guy like, I call him Ada
Ada.
Hutchinson.
Ada.
Asa, I call him Ada.
Why do you
I
call
don't
him
even
Ada?
know. I could tell you, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble. But he's weak and pathetic.
That's a
and
dodge.
I never understood the guy. I never knew him. He was the governor of Arkansas. Not a very popular guy. I don't know how but that state is such a great state. The people are so incredible
Yes.
in that state, and they love me and I love them. How does this guy get elected governor of Arkansas? But he's nasty always and has been. A guy like Chris Christie, the guy left with a.
By the way, the reason for that is because there are a lot of very corrupt Republican machines in these deep red states, in places like Arkansas, Oklahoma. When we're in a purple state like us, and the Republicans are fighting for the survival in the majority. It's not like when you're in a deep red state. That's when the political mafia is all inside the GOP. So that's why that kind of stuff happens.
8%, think of it, 8% approval rating in New Jersey. Now he's running for president, and he runs solely on the basis of, let's get Trump. He's like a savage maniac. He's like a lunatic. And that's all he talks about. His poll numbers are very, very low. He's about 2%.
What's he like? You know him well.
Well, I've been friendly with him over the years, but I couldn't give him a job because I just never trusted him very much. I was just never one of his
And he
people
only
that
hires the
really
best
trusted
people,
him.
as
I
we
never
know,
gave him
right?
the job, and that's one of the reasons he feels so hurt and so betrayed. And I understand that. I really do. I understand it, but I never gave him. He wanted to be different things. He was looking at different elements of the administration, and I decided I didn't want to do it. And now I'm glad I did, because you see, but we had some great people. I had great people. We'll have even better people if we do this, because now I know Washington. Before I didn't know Washington, but guys like Bill Barr were terrible. I mean, they were, I would say, Bushies. I say that with respect to the Bush family, but they were Bushies. And just it doesn't work out for us.
It was clear. This is kind of far afield, but it was
appointed him.
just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it,
Right.
His autobiography, and in it he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say that, he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know what Barr said about it either. I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself and that they were going to do this investigation. They never did the investigation. It's never been public.
Well,
and they hid it. And why are they doing that? And clearly Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either. Okay. He said he did, and he pretended he did, but he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. We're going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history. But they said, we're going to impeach. They play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics. And they were going to impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff.
Well, there's plenty of Republicans talking about impeachment now. Unfortunately, none of them are particularly good at it. But there was actually, Jonathan Turley had a great article saying the House has to start an impeachment inquiry now. And yeah, they absolutely do. This has gotten just completely insane, out of control. Anyway, all right.
But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a
Why would you think that?
life with beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did.
Prisons have ways of preventing you from committing
those
suicide.
people. There are many people. I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
It's possible Trump just has no
Really?
idea.
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all.
He's kind of playing both
I
sides.
believe everything I hear.
Huh?
He's kind of playing both sides. Like he's saying what you're supposed to say, but then now he's kind of coming out.
Yeah, he's playing strategic ambiguity for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the closer.
It's like Tucker just there saying, I'm not a conspiracy person myself.
Sure,
you're not a conspiracy person.
Let me show you this story.
Huh?
He said that, but then he said something like, but I'll listen to anything or I'll believe anything, or I don't know what he said right after it, Tucker.
Yeah.
Once you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way. But it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into politics, for real, and then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice,
right?
And now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you? Honestly,
they're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great people in the Democrat Party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservative. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody. But I've seen what they do. I've seen the lengths that they go to when they make up the Russia. When that's exposed and they go down, and Barr should have gone after them, and other people should have gone after, and they did very late. Because the Durham report came out, it was fairly good. It could have been a lot tougher, I guess, but it was fairly good. But it explained how corrupt it was. I'll tell you who did a great job was the Inspector General Horowitz. He did a phenomenal report. You didn't have to go to Durham. He did it on Comey and on, I guess, McCabe and some others. And it was a vicious, it was basically a true report, how bad they are. But these people are sick people. These are people that I think they hate our country. You want to know the truth. When you see open borders, when you see these policies that they have, and so many other things, it's so sad to see. We have a country that's very fragile right now. I've never seen, I will say, look, I ran in 16, which was 15, but I ran in 16, election in 16. and there was tremendous spirit. In 20, there was even more spirit. We got millions and millions more votes. You know, it wasn't even a contest. People said, well, what'd you think of 20? I said, we did much better. We did. You got to base it on the number of votes. We got many more votes in 20 than we did in 16. But the election was rigged. It was a rigged election. And with COVID, they used COVID to cheat in a lot of different things. And we have so much on it. It's like so easy. But we had judges that didn't want to look. We had people didn't want to get involved. They called you, he's a conspiracy theorist if you say anything about the election. But
see, this is where I wish he would be more specific and more like Barnes and point out things like Barnes would say.
Because what Barnes always says, too, it was an unconstitutionally held election.
Yeah, or like the example I was going to give was when Barnes says the only election contest brought by the Trump campaign in Georgia was one that the courts refused to hear. They kept playing games, ping-ponging it back and forth into different courthouses until it was too late. So the actual Trump contest, never mind whatever anybody else did, Trump's election contest never got a day in court in Georgia.
That's true.
I mean, that's an important detail that he of all people should be the one providing, because he has the biggest platform. He's on an interview with Tucker Carlson that's watched by 200 million people or some number. And he never goes into these details that are so critical. It's always just to generalize, oh, we got a bunch of stupid judges and a lot of corrupt things happened. Like, give us something to bite into, would you please? Because your supporters need it. Because if they go out and just say, yeah, the election was stolen, trust us. If someone's undecided, they're going to think, okay, well, the media gives me all these long articles and details and yada, yada, yada. And this person just says, oh, it's all untrue. Who are they going to believe?
Yeah.
They have to, someone needs to be giving out these details. And Trump he's not a detail-oriented guy, I don't think. But anyway.
I have never seen spirit like there is right now. Even coming down here, just the people on the road that are just absolutely going crazy. And the reason is, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. A lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me. But I have never seen spirit like it is right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country. I don't think he's going to make it to the gate, but you never know. But he's a corrupt person, so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. I don't do two people at one time. I took the crooked Hillary and I retired the name. That was a good day for her. I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's crooked Joe. But Joe is really.
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 2020?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of an athlete. You look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks. He can't lift his feet out of the grass. It's only 2 inches at the White House, right? It's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then
did
see
you
him
see where they had to change the stairs out on Air Force One?
Meant to be light.
Smaller steps.
They're like
you just rewind it.
Lift them up.
All right,
You can't lift the chair light, right? That's right. It's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So, and then you see him on the beach where he can't lift a chair. Those chairs are meant to be light, right? They're like 2 ounces. You lift them up. He can't lift the chair. He can't walk to the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. This beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. Sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach.
Fabulous at the beach.
The beach doesn't represent what the president's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be working. You're supposed to be getting us out of that horrible, horrible war that we're very much involved in with Russia and Ukraine. You could do that. You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that I don't believe he could do it because he's just incompetent. But that's a war that should end immediately, not because of one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Can you imagine you're in an apartment house and rockets are going into that building and blowing it up and knocking it down? And why should anybody, human beings, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are, it's got to be stopped. And it can be stopped very easily. It would have never started. If I were president, it would have never started.
That's true.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think
that reminds me, because I want to put up this contrast here between what Trump just said about, you know, the awfulness of war, and all these people are dying, and it doesn't matter whose fault it is. We just need to, you know, do what's good for everybody. This was Mitt Romney just the other day, I think.
Being able to take an amount which equals what, about 5% of our military budget, but actually less than 5% of our military budget each year to help the Ukrainians is about the best national defense spending I think we've ever done. We're losing no lives in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are fighting heroically against Russia that has 1,500 nuclear weapons aimed at us. It's like, so we're diminishing and devastating the Russian military for a very small amount of money relative to what we spend in the rest of defense. A weakened Russia is a good thing. And the best thing we can do for America is to see people who have nuclear weapons aimed at us getting weaker.
So that was Mitt Romney saying, hey, this whole Ukraine thing is great because they're all dying and we're not. And we're not even spending that much money. It's all Ukrainians dying. These people do not give a crap about human life at all. It's absolutely morally reprehensible. These are evil people, folks. Can you imagine being in Utah and Mitt Romney was your U.S. senator? Every Republican in Utah should be ashamed. I think someone is primarying him, yeah. Although, speaking of that, didn't Trump endorse him the last time around? I think he did.
Yeah, last time.
It was 2018. Yeah, he did. Oh, well.
He's failing. He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons, the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. And, it's weird. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States.
It's still funny.
And I think they probably have some kind of a primary and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
could be. I mean, you know, I always got along well with him, believe it or not, but could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You know, you look at so many of the things that are going on and people don't seem to be, in the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, he looks good. He's a nice looking guy, speaks well. But Biden, every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse.
Fetterman.
And he almost always does. And I got to know the leaders of all of the countries, essentially, but the big ones. And the bigger, the tougher the leader. You know, it's like sort of, I guess maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But I got to know President Xi of China and Putin and Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Did a great job with North Korea, kept us out of a nuclear war. We would have 40,000 dead soldiers right now. They'd drop a nuke right on top of the military base. But we have 40,000 soldiers over there. And I did great. I got along with him great.
But
so that's a positive. You know, the press said, he said nice things about Kim Jong-un. I also said horrible things at the beginning. Horrible enough that he wanted to talk. And we talked and we met in Singapore. We met actually twice. And we had unbelievable meetings. I know him very well. We were in great shape with him.
What do you think he and Xi and Putin think of Biden?
I think they can't believe it. I think they probably say this is some kind of a system. You know, they had great respect for our country. They respected me. They had great respect for our country when I was there. Every one of them. Look, if you go to North Korea, you take a look at what happened. You know, the Olympics was dead. South Korea spent billions on the Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up. They called me and they said, we are going to let the Olympics proceed. This is North Korea. I said, you should go into the Olympics. Put your athletes in. It wasn't like, you know, they were big on athletes because, you know.
Famine.
But they went in and they actually participated. And within about 2 days, the entire thing was sold out. And if it wasn't me, that would have never happened. But I got along very well with him, and that's a positive thing. He does have massive nuclear power, by the way. And if Hillary would have gotten in, or if the Obama thought process continued, it would have been a nuclear war, absolutely, with North Korea. He was.
Well, then why isn't there with Biden right now? I mean, he gives these weird answers, you know? Like, they start off with talking about Xi Jinping, and it's perfect opportunity for Trump to talk about how our relations with China are atrocious, that now China and Russia have gotten together, that now BRICS has just expanded from 5 countries to 11, including Saudi Arabia and Iran, and the whole world is turning against us, and, you know, feed that fear that Biden's going to cause the whole world to end, which is legitimate. And he's just like, just making jokes about Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, it's wildly entertaining, but just missing so many opportunities to communicate.
Yeah.
He was expecting to go into a war, and it would have been a nuclear war.
So do you think the rest of the world looks on at Biden and thinks someone else has got to be running the government?
Well, somebody else has to be. I don't think he's capable of doing anything. Look, when I debated him, I said, how come, and this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it he wants to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent? It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father was great. He's a
little fussy man.
His father interviewed me in 60 Minutes. It was actually a 10. Can you believe it?
No, I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60 Minutes to. He was rough.
Really?
His father was tough. He was great. Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. You know, he wouldn't do. I figured I didn't mind Chris Wallace because Biden wouldn't do a show. And it was very obvious. You know, he kept asking him, but he wouldn't do the show. So I figured he's got to like me. But he came from a different planet. But remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million? Don't forget, that was brought up. Now it's brought up all the time, but that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it. I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million? To Biden. And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he
got in the way of the question.
No, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now, people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace didn't want me to ask that question. I said, I think it's a very appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
Amazing. So do you have a preference in, assuming you're the Republican nominee and all goes as you plan it to go, do you have a preference in who you run against?
In many ways, I'd love to run against him because his record's so bad. You know, it's still horrible when you look at inflation and everything else, but others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record. So, you know, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while ago. And now it's very sad when you look at it. Los Angeles, every city practically, all the Democrat-run cities. You know, Republican-run cities are doing very nicely because they arrest people when you have crimes. And they don't go after political candidates because they think it's good. You know, I mean, it's like been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work, you got elected anyway. Yeah. Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times and you're not gonna lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well, so it makes it look even more ridiculous. I mean, the 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So what's next? After, you know, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life, that's not working. So, like, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. You know, they really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. but you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax.
This is a self-fulfilling prophecy, though. He's saying, like, other people, when they get indicted, quit politics, but I'm not quitting politics, therefore I'm innocent. That doesn't make sense. That's a bad argument. And again, he's getting away from pointing out how not only, you know, meritless all these legal assaults are, and by the way, also noticeably not talking about everybody else, the electors, the lawyers, all the other people indicted. Doesn't seem to, I mean, he never expresses sympathy for them, at least he hasn't yet, but he's not addressing the core claims. You know, he needs to go to, this is a constitutional crisis. If they can just bring frivolous charges, you can't be criminally charged for contesting an election. You can't be criminally charged for calling for a peaceful protest. You can't be criminally charged for making a phone call in your capacity as the president to someone in another country, like the prosecutor in Ukraine or what have you. I mean, these are the things he needs to